Good morning, everyone. Hi, this is Barkha Kakkar. I'll be teaching you object-oriented programming using C++, right? So, we'll first start with the unit 1, that is Introduction to Object-Oriented Programming Approach relating to other paradigms. Functional and data decomposition means how functional programming that you have already read, that is structured programming, right? How C++ is different from C, right? You were already reading C. C was more to structured oriented. Now C++ is more object oriented. We are more concerned with objects rather than we are concerned with functions, right? So the basic terms and ideas we'll be considering, these are abstraction, encapsulation. These are nothing but the object oriented programming concepts we have to do, right? This all comes under object oriented programming concepts. Review of C, we have to do C. C is the basic language, right? So the base language is C. That means you have to do data types, keywords, structure, all the things remains the same, but the writing and the thinking process is different, right? To solve a problem, solving has changed. Now we have moved from top-down approach to bottom-up approach, right? So we'll be seeing that what is our approach and how we are changing this approach, right? So we'll be studying difference between C and C++. C in and C out, right now you'll be just looking at that what you'll be seeing in C in C out, but C in and C out are used for print in place of printf and scanf, right? And new and delete operators are basically used in dynamic memory allocation. You have read in last semester also something related to runtime, right? We'll discuss in detail, but this is the operator in place of malloc and calloc which you are using in functions, right, in C. Now moving on to the next slide, introduction to C++. Right? So how C++ came, right? C programming language was developed in 1970, right? It was basically Unix operating system is written in C. C has more application and system development, right? And C++ is the extension of C, right? It is also known as C with classes. C++ is object-oriented language, whereas C is structured programming language. C++ is developed by Bejan Strautrup, right? C is developed by, I tell you, Dennis Ritchie, right? So it was also developed in A&T Bell Laboratories in 1980, right? But it was released later in 1983 with a release version of 2.0 in 1989 also, right? So first we understand that what we focused before and what we are focusing right now, right? Before there was a problem, right? Related to, see, banks you are using. So I have related to a simple problem. The customers are allowed to different types of bank accounts, right? We are opening different type of accounts. We withdraw money, we transfer money, right? So C is more concerned with functions, right? What functions you will be doing, right? You will be doing transfer, deposit money, you will be doing withdrawal of money, right? You are using transfer to, so you are concerned more with functions, you are not concerned with objects, right? So in C procedural approach we are more concerned with functions, like what deposit, this is just an example, right? Deposit, what structure you are using, right? So procedural approach is focuses on procedures. All data is shared, no protection of data was there, every data is shared. More difficult to modify, hard to manage the complexity of the system. See, if we define all the functions or all the variables as global and anybody can access, so data sharing can cause a problem, right? So what we moved to object oriented approach. In object oriented approach we focused that object is of utter importance, right? We are not focusing on functions. Right now we have moved to customer, money, accounts, right? These are the objects for which we are concerned. So our programming will more focused on the object, will identify the object and we do the programming based on that object, right? Right. So this is the problems. Global data was there in structured programming, right? All the modules are sharing that data, and so anybody can change. We don't know who can change. So in real world problem, see why we have used C++ was changing real world problem. So real world problem ko aapko convert karna hai, you need to convert. We have changed a different approach, that is object oriented approach. So these were the problems. Unrestricted access to global data. See, this global data can be accessed by any of these procedures. Poor modeling approach of real world problem. We are not considering attributes, means characteristics क्या हैं, behavior क्या है, मतलब वो कैसा work कर रहा है वो system. We cannot create new data types easily. There are new features in C++. You'll slowly understand कि नया data type कैसे create करता है और कैसे operations perform होते हैं, right? So next we come with object oriented paradigm, right? Object oriented paradigm we are most important, we are concerned with object oriented paradigm, right? That means all the programming will be concerned with an object. So you have to identify the object, you have to identify the behavior of the object, you have to identify the attributes of the object, and then you will do the programming. What we have to do in programming? Programming is nothing but set of instructions that you have to write in simple language, right? That can be C, that can be C++, any language, right? So for this we are using C++. The object oriented paradigm is a methodology for producing reusable software components that can be reused. That means one component can be used by another person also, right? Object oriented is a model where problem domain is modeled into objects. So we are modeling the data into objects, so that the problem solving is done by interaction among the objects. So two objects can interact with each other and can solve or provide a solution to the problem, right? Combine data and functions into an object. So what we have combined, see, functions was a problem. See, functions were using global data, right? Any function can change or modify the global data. That was in C. But now we have combined data and function in a single unit, that is called object, right? So member functions are called methods and member data. See, what is member function and what is member data? Right now I can only tell whatever we define inside the class, right? That is member data or member function. Whatever we define inside the class, that is member data or member function. We'll study everything in detail, but till now it is only basics. What is member functions? Defined inside the class. What is member data? That is defined inside the class. ठीक है, वो attributes, characteristics कैसे identify करते हैं, we'll study in detail. Okay. Objects interact by sending messages. This is an object, right? This is an object. This you'll pack in one thing. What will define how class will be defined? This is a object. When data, this is data, and we identify the operations. Operations is the behavior. बिहेवियर, कैसा ऑब्जेक्ट बिहेव करता है, तो आप आइडेंटिफाई करोगे. इसके लिए मैं एग्जांपल देती हूँ. देखो, स्टूडेंट आइडेंटिफाई किया. स्टूडेंट के एट्रीब्यूट्स क्या होते हैं? आपका रोल नंबर, आपकी क्लास, आपके मार्क्स, राइट? ऑपरेशंस क्या परफॉर्म हो सकते हैं? मेरे को एवरेज मार्क्स निकालने हो सारे स्टूडेंट्स के, राइट? मेरे को एवरेज हाइट निकालनी हो क्लास की, मेरे को एवरेज वेट निकालना हो क्लास का, मेरे को ये निकालना हो कि कितने स्टूडेंट्स मेरी क्लास के डेली एनसीआर के अराउंड रहते हैं, राइट? कितने फार रहते हैं, कितने हॉस्टलर्स हैं, राइट? सो दिस इज we perform operations on the data. Data is nothing but the data of a student. When we store a single student, it is a single data of the student. When we store a list, it is called an array, right? You have studied array, कुछ नहीं, collection. जब कलेक्शन की बात करते हैं तो हम एरे का यूज करते हैं, और जब हम सिंगल ऑब्जेक्ट की बात करेंगे तो हम एक सिंगल स्टूडेंट के डेटा की बात कर रहे हैं, राइट? इज दैट क्लियर? सो वी स्टडी कि डेटा क्या है और उसका बिहेवियर क्या होगा, राइट? सो बिफोर स्टार्टिंग विथ दिस इज द ऑब्जेक्ट, हर ऑब्जेक्ट के पास डेटा है, हर ऑब्जेक्ट के पास फंक्शंस है, राइट? अब ये सारे कैसे कम्युनिकेट करेंगे? फंक्शंस के थ्रू कम्युनिकेट करेंगे, ऑब्जेक्ट्स के थ्रू कम्युनिकेट करेंगे, एक ऑब्जेक्ट दूसरे ऑब्जेक्ट से इंटरैक्ट करेगा, राइट? This is how one object will interact with another object. Model the real world problem as users perceive. Construct reusable components. ये हमारे बेसिक्स हैं कि हम एक रियल वर्ल्ड प्रॉब्लम को पहले यूजर्स जो सोचते हैं, यूजर्स जो परसीव कर रहे हैं कि वो रियल वर्ल्ड कंसेप्ट पे बेस है पूरी ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड, तो हम रियल वर्ल्ड में जो परसीव कर रहे हैं उसको हमने प्रोग्रामिंग में लिखना है, दैट्स ऑल, राइट? अब हम क्या करेंगे? रीयूजेबल कंपोनेंट्स बनाने हैं और नए कंपोनेंट्स जो बन सकते हैं एग्जिस्टिंग वन से, right? So this is the main focused diagram that you have to understand, right? This is the main focused diagram that you have to understand. Object oriented paragramming and its features, right? So first we'll study कि ये diagram में है क्या क्या? Genericity, encapsulation. You have to learn all these, right? You have to mug up all these, you have to understand all these. We'll study one by one. आपको basic question सबसे पहले यही आता है C++ में कि object oriented programming concepts in any form it can come. It can come in a small question also of 3 marks. What do you mean by encapsulation? What do you mean by abstraction? What do you mean by dynamic binding? 3 marks के क्वेश्चन आते हैं, और लॉन्ग क्वेश्चंस आते हैं, पॉलीमॉर्फिज्म क्या होता है, इनहेरिटेंस क्या होता है. तो हमारा जितना भी पूरी प्रोग्रामिंग, हमारी पूरी बुक फिनिश हो जाएगी तो हमने ये कंसेप्ट, दैट मीन्स हमें आ गए, राइट? We'll start with first concept and we'll move to second, third, fourth. धीरे धीरे हम मूव करेंगे, एंड जब तक हम लास्ट तक पहुंचेंगे तो हमें पता चलेगा अच्छा हमने यही पढ़े हैं, कंसेप्ट कंसेप्चुअल है. C is more function oriented, वहां पे हमें लॉजिक लगाना पड़ता था, राइट? C++ is more conceptual oriented, जो आपके कंसेप्ट होंगे, जो आप अंडरस्टैंड करेंगे, ओके दिस इज द कंसेप्ट, वी हैव टू पुट दैट कंसेप्ट, राइट? सो genericity, encapsulation, I just pronounce it everything. Encapsulation, data abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, dynamic binding, message passing, objects, classes, and delegation, right? So we'll study one by one each concept, right? So any doubts till now? Because see, if we move one by one na, it will be good. Till now any doubts you can concern, right? कि ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड प्रोग्रामिंग क्या होती है, राइट? अगर आप स्मॉल स्मॉल कंसेप्ट पे पढ़ेंगे तो अभी तक हमने सिर्फ एक क्वेश्चन एनालाइज कर लिया है, राइट? वी हैव एनालाइज्ड वन क्वेश्चन. व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन अ C and C++? You can write now, right? The another difference you can write now is what is the difference between a structured oriented programming, क्योंकि structure oriented पढ़ चुके हैं, right? And how it is different from the object oriented programming, right? तो अभी तक मेरा ये है कि आप एक क्वेश्चन you can prepare right now. In today's class we'll do 2 questions, right? ज्यादा नहीं करेंगे हम, 2 क्वेश्चन हर क्लास में कोशिश करेंगे प्रिपेयर कर लें. So with this we'll start with the next topic again, but till now you should understand what is the difference between C and C++ and what is the difference between function oriented and object oriented programming. Okay, so we'll discuss. Next topic is object oriented features and details. This is the diagram, we'll discuss that.